Hey everyone!
Hi, everybody.
Welcome to open class number 32. It's funny how things just like happen so fast. Already open class 32. It's just, and I feel we started
Yeah,
open class not so long ago.
yeah. And then like I was watching your Insomnia Insight. It was like number 350 something. It was like,
Yeah,
wow, that's a lot. That's amazing. You're
yeah,
prolific. You are prolific.
absolutely. It's like anything else. When you do something because you love it, it's fun. It just becomes easy.
Yeah, that's great.
And that was a good one, by the way. It was like always so much insight from people you interact with, clients, viewers,
Yeah,
etc.
definitely.
All right, well, let's take a look here. We have 4 questions, I think. Good ones too, by the way. And as always, nothing here is medical advice, just me and Michael sharing general thoughts, comments that we hope will be really helpful. So actually, without further ado, then let's read this first one. This is from Jan, who's sent at least one question before. Let's read this. Hi, Jan. Hi, Daniel. Jan here again. So I keep doing better and then having trouble again. I know this is to be expected along the path of becoming immune to insomnia, and I'm doing my best not to obsess once this happens. Very good. The thing I am struggling with the most is letting go of that desire for sleep. I find that it is so hard to let go, to not care. How does one just stop desiring sleep? I love sleep. I've always loved sleep. Sleep is something I've always looked forward to. Like, honestly, when someone would ask me what I like to do, sleep was always top of the list. I never thought it would become a serious problem for me since it used to be so easy. Now it's almost like I'm grieving the loss of something that brought me so much comfort. The education has helped me understand that wakefulness is nothing to fear. That has helped. Accepting has helped a great deal too. And I think I need to work on that a bit more. But what about the desire? What does one do to relinquish or lessen this desire? An insight on this is greatly appreciated. Good. You know why I like this question? Because it is a one that kind of it's a challenging one. It's a challenging question, I think, in a way. But anyway, I'll let you go first, Michael. What are your thoughts here?
Well, first, I'd say it's completely understandable to really desire sleep because it does make you feel great during the day. Of course. I mean, that's just common sense. That's everybody's experience. So that it's important and a great insight that Jen, that you recognize that it is the desire for sleep that is the problem. Like that's the issue. The issue is your desire. You're craving sleep. You want sleep. You know how good it makes you feel and all that. And that type of thinking drives insomnia. It makes it's activating the part of your brain that's kind of like, like you need this thing, like you're focused on it, you really, there's just a lot of your brain thought, everything is just like directed to this one thing of sleep. And I know it's impossible to just like not think about something. Just tell yourself immediately, I'm not going to think about, that car on the street by my house. I'm just not going to think about it. Well, guess what I'm thinking about? That car right there on the street next to my house. So what I think is a helpful strategy that I found is to kind of redirect a little bit, kind of go a bit creative at night. So, just kind of like get involved in something else. That's kind of, in my mind, about the main thing that anyone can do. Because, if you sit there and ruminate about sleep all night long, it's just going to make it worse. It's that desire to sleep that's driving the ruminations and everything. So getting focused on something else, a movie, a book, crafty thing, whatever it is, I think that really helps. It's just a simple like behavioral thing that you can do that really has nothing to do in a sense with addressing the desire to sleep. It's just simply redirection. It's like redirect in an enjoyable, creative kind of way, and that see if like you can get kind of involved in that line of thinking at night instead of constantly thinking about this desire, this need to sleep. So that's just a simple suggestion that I think has been pretty helpful, and I encourage you to give it a go.
And I think it sounds like maybe for Jen it was perhaps not so much at night that she had the desire, maybe
Mm-hmm.
throughout the day or whatnot. But I think to just continue what Coach Michael says here, that can work well no matter when it is. Like,
Yeah.
instead of like, I got to stop thinking about this, then just direct your attention to something you enjoy during the day. And then you don't think so much about it because something else is on your mind. That can really, really help. And I wanted to start here, actually. Like, Jen says something that is very important, which is like, how do you get to a place where you just don't care as much? And that's where things get a little tricky, because that is what you always hear people say. People who you ask, like, oh, you got past your insomnia, and how did you do that? People always go like, I just don't care anymore. It doesn't care. And that when you have trouble sleeping, when you have the desire, it's kind of like, it doesn't feel authentic, really. It's like, how can I not care like I do? And here's the thing: we all care. We all care about our sleep. We all want to sleep well. That's completely natural. And that's not what you need to work on, Jen. We all want that. But the person who says, I don't care so much anymore, it's not that they don't care. That's not entirely true. It is that they have become less attached, or even not attached. And that's a big difference. It's like, I watched this Michael Jordan documentary, which is a really entertaining one. And that guy is super competitive. He wants to win like nothing else. But it's also like, if you lose, it's like, yeah, what can you do? I lost. It's like, you can want something really bad, but still not be attached to the outcome. And that's the key. So I think, you can want to sleep really, really well. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to be less attached to the outcome. So if you sleep really well one night, that's great, good. If you don't sleep much at all, that's also acceptable. That is the way to reduce that desire, the chasing for sleep, becoming less attached.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That when you have a good night of sleep, you don't get really excited about it. That's a really excellent point. So that you kind of maintain this kind of like level attitude, this even keel, indifferent kind of attitude about your sleep in the long run. Good, bad doesn't matter. So that's important to know. Like, if you have a good night, don't self-congratulate in the morning. Oh, great. And then start thinking about all the things you did to produce that, because it wasn't all the things that you did that produced that. You just got off the brake of the gas brake model.
Exactly.
That's really what you did. You got off the brake. And so don't go, don't throw a party if you have a good night of sleep. Enjoy your day, but enjoy your day independent of your sleep. Anyways, I'm going to share a little anecdote here. Like, the other night, I had a bit of a rough night, a little bit windy nights. It's like my bane of existence. I've mentioned that before. So, I was a little short on sleep, got up in the morning, felt kind of foggy, sort of like, oh, it'd be easy to just like get some coffee, get a book and sit around, the clouds are kind of coming in. So I said, you know what? I'm going to get on the rowing machine. Did my rowing machine. I went out and did like some yard work. I just like forgot about the night. And what was really interesting? Like, I felt that circadian dip after lunch a little bit stronger than usual, which would be natural. But I kind of just, got myself kept occupied in things. By the end of the day, I didn't feel any different than I normally do. By like 5, 6 o'clock, I was just kind of like, yeah, made it through the day. I don't feel like super extra sleepy right now. I was just like, I just took this attitude of like, I forgot about the night. I wasn't thinking about the night. I went about my business, just regular old day. So sorry, little anecdote I wanted to share.
But that speaks to another thing which is important, which is like the desire for sleep often is actually not necessarily the desire for it's like you desire sleep because of how it will make you feel the following day. And if you show yourself that you can have a really good day, even if you sleep a little, that creates that this disattachment. You unattach how you feel during the day from sleep, then sleep becomes less desirable. Very good point. And I think maybe final one here for this one is that I think things are very different now, Jen, than before. So, Jen had said in a previous email that she was like, had absolutely no problem sleeping. One of those people who always sleeps really, really good. And you may think like, I always wanted to sleep. I loved sleep. I always had a desire for sleep, but you didn't. You did not have a desire for sleep back then. Sleep was just something that it kind of always happened to you. You, in fact, had a neutral relationship with sleep in terms of like the emotional relationship with sleep. You didn't crave sleep and you didn't fear, wakefulness. Those were neutral. And then sleep just came to you and you took it for granted. It was like a great part of your life and it was fantastic. And that is very different from now. Now you do have that kind of, I want it, I need it, why can't I get it? So things are different now than then. But whenever I hear somebody like, I'm making progress, but this is happening, I'm making progress, but this is happening, I'm like, honestly, if I just said, keep doing what you're doing, just keep doing what you're doing, you'll be fine. So I think that's maybe one of the most important things here, Jen, that you are getting to that place you want to be at. And think of all we said here just as kind of like reassurance, keep going. Right?
Yep.
Perfect. So let's hop on here again and take a look at our next question, which is from Ash. Hi, Daniel. Hope you're doing great. I've been following your channel and we have interacted a couple of times already. Thanks for the support, Ash. But I thought it is high time to inform you about my exact issues right from when it all started. Sorry to bother you again. No worries. So this all began when I started working late night till 2 a.m. due to commitments. This changed my biological clock a little, and I started finding it hard to drift at all to sleep at my usual time, which was around 11 p.m., I'm assuming. I could fall asleep eventually, though. But then I started researching on the internet on how to bring my cycle back. This is where it got worse. Some experts describe sleep in a scary way. They describe sleep as a state of body paralysis, unconsciousness, getting disconnected from the outer world. Some even took it way far by comparing it with coma. When I heard them talk, it did not fix my issue, rather made it worse. I didn't see sleep the way they described it before, but now I'm scared by their definition of sleep. You can call it sleep fear. Now, even though I eventually go to sleep, I get nervous when bedtime nears. This is why when I start drifting off to sleep, I start asking myself, am I sure I want to go in that state again? And I open my eyes. I get hyper aroused, takes multiple attempts to fall asleep. I've been able to take back control for a few days using the tips you share on the channel, but the fear is still there. Once it kicks in, all past efforts and successful nights end in vain. Oh yeah, and I fear more during the night as compared to afternoon. Not sure what it is, but I seem to have developed a negative relationship with dark room, I guess, because I'm able to fall asleep quickly during afternoon naps. Any tips on how to overcome this fear? Thanks in regards from Ash. I can start, sharing some thoughts here, and Neil is with us live here. I think that thinking of the past won't help because we cannot go backwards. And no one ever visited the future. There's a reason why present has double meaning. It's the now and it's a gift. Absolutely.
Excellent. I like that. Thanks, Neil.
Yes. So back to Ash here. I think one thing I really want to bring up here is this one that some people say I'm not really afraid. I think I have developed like somnophobia. I'm afraid of sleeping now. I'm afraid of sleep. And Ash shares how he wasn't really that concerned, but it was all this like information about sleep and these thoughts that made him scared. But then, you hear Ash say, I'm now kind of afraid of sleeping. But then we also hear like, I'm trying to sleep. It took a while before I got sleep. I want sleep. So I think it is important to recognize that what some people say, like somnophobia, I'm afraid of sleeping, that's not it. You are actually not afraid. You want sleep. You want to sleep, and you are afraid of being awake or having interrupted sleep, or you're afraid of the unknown, that something weird is happening. But you aren't really scared of sleeping. You do want to sleep. You recognize that sleep is something you want. So I think that's just important to recognize, because as always, when you think you have something that's weird and unusual, that keeps you from sleeping well. So I want to say the first thing I hear when somebody says I have somnophobia is no, that's you are really having insomnia. You're afraid of being awake more than anything else. So that was number one. And another couple of things was, Ash said something to the effect that with the insights and what we talk about here, education, I've been managing to control things a little bit better, control the fear. And that is also a little bit confusing. It is confusing because people often, they learn from us, from Martin Reed, from wherever it is, and they start doing better and then start thinking, oh, good, I've gotten a little bit of control here. But that's not at all what happened. You started letting go of control. You starting being, oh, I don't need to. That's what led you to have a little bit better predictability, feeling less fear, etc. So you have actually started letting go of control, and the more you do that, the better things will go. So I know I had some more things, but I'll let you jump in here, Mike, while I kind of go back there in my mind.
Yeah, you know, when you were reading the email, one of the things that stuck in my mind was the comment about going to the internet to learn about sleep. You know, the internet is very helpful and useful for a lot of things, but you have to be careful. You have to really like question and double check, triple check things that you are learning on the internet. You know, are they factual or not? Sleep being like a coma. No, you know, it's just not. It's completely different. It's coma is like sedation, and you know, it's a very artificial state. Sleep, you know, is natural. It's passive. It's periodic. You know, it's kind of like getting hungry is natural. It's periodic. So, you know, it's nothing to be afraid of on that side of things. It's something that you have to not be attached to the outcome. It's like I keep going back to the same thing. You have to develop an attitude about sleep that is indifferent, not attached to anything. It's just something you allow to happen. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, but you set the stage as best you can. Like, you know, you're not sitting in a bright room with a bunch of noise and freezing cold or something. You know, you do your best to just kind of like make yourself comfortable around the time that you would expect it to happen. And then you kind of just go into like, I don't know, like an analogy, it'd be sort of like, you know, like an airplane coming in for a landing. You know, have you ever noticed like it's really controlled, and then like the last part of it before you touch the ground, it kind of goes into like manual control. You can tell like someone's actually steering this thing, and you kind of, it's sort of like, I don't know if this analogy is great or not, but it's kind of like you just allow everything to kind of like touch down. So you're just guiding it. You're not directly controlling it, you know? So maybe that's not the best analogy, but I'm trying to come up with a way to describe like, you know, sleep happens. You don't make it happen. You can't. Nobody can. Nobody. I'm a good sleeper only because I have learned that I don't care how I sleep. It doesn't affect my day. I don't give, you know, any real thought to it. And I think that's just an attitude that comes with understanding that when you do have an occasional poor night, that you get on with your day and you can really find that you're just kind of like the same person. And you just allow yourself at night, you know, to just see what happens. And it's letting go. And that's tough for a lot of people, you know, because, you know, you're probably a successful person, Ash, and you probably have done good things in your life, and you've done well, and you've had a sense of control over those things. Well, sleep, I'm sorry, is just the weird thing in life that's not like that. And you have to adopt a different attitude towards it in your own mind.
100%. Jen, who tuned in here, was nice.
Hey, Jen.
When we answer questions, says thank you anytime. Thank you, Jen, for all the support. And you know, the airplane analogy, you know, I thought that could be a really good one for this one. So, you know, you have the airplane, which is kind of you're awake, and then you're transitioning down into sleep, and then it's kind of and then you're asleep, right?
Yeah.
I think that could be a really good analogy for like hypnic jerks.
Yeah.
Right? You have a little bit of jerks and stuff like that going on before you. It's a little weird. That transitional state is a little weird. Weird stuff happens there. So,
right.
Just, you know, let it land and you'll be good, you know?
Yeah.
Let's take a look and see if we missed anything here. Okay, so the main question was kind of how to overcome the fear. I want to say that, I want to just say this, that I don't think your fear is different than anybody else's really with insomnia. I don't think you have a fear of sleeping. I think you have a fear of like, what's happening? Why can't I sleep? What's going on, etc. So I think it's always the same education. Just learn, ask us questions, and you'll get there, Ash. Okay, so let us move along here to a question from Anonymous. Okay, a little bit, this is a different question here. But I think very helpful one. Let's look at this. I'm thinking that sometimes the cause of insomnia can perpetuate the issue. For example, in my instance, I was having some marital problems. Then I did some snooping and found some things on his phone that cemented what I thought. The thought of him having an affair caused me to lose sleep from that Father's Day in June. Now I'm still in the home trying to work on me and my feelings and thoughts, but we still argue, etc. When that happens, I can't sleep the night. Thoughts whirling in my mind of what I did wrong, etc. Should I stay, leave? I'm saying all this to say that sometimes acceptance may not be the only solution, but counseling, etc., depending on the individual situation. Folk may not divulge into, but it could be the cause which may need something more than acceptance. What are your thoughts? And my thinking here becomes, let's see. Okay, we have a live question here. Let's save the live question. Jen, do this one first. My thinking is, so what our anonymous poster here says is that sometimes there is this thing that is driving your insomnia, and going towards like not trying to do anything to sleep better, can accept that I have no control, etc., may not be the thing to do or sufficient, sort of like that. And so, I have some thoughts on this. Mike, what are your immediate thoughts when you hear this?
Yeah, I think it kind of gets to that question of control again. People can become anxious about anything during the day. Stuff happens. I like to say life happens. Life happens. Life throws curveballs. I like baseball analogies. And you just sort of do the best you can with them. And if you have a lot on your mind at night, sleep might be a little more elusive. I like the idea of a thought download during the day, kind of taking a few moments by yourself, no distractions, and write some things down. It's the whole timeless method of getting things off your mind. That's where that phrase comes from, off your mind onto paper. And even just that, even if you just write things down, then say, okay, great, put it in a drawer and just walk away. That step alone, I think, is helpful. Some people then take a step further and they write something down. They think, oh, I should really address that, and like talk to someone about it. Counseling can be very helpful for all kinds of anxiety and depression issues. Talk therapy, these kinds of things. So working on things during the day when you're there's no pressure, there's no, it's light out, you're awake, people around, whatever, there's support there for you, I think is very helpful. And then at night, it's like you got to let go, it's just, you have to enjoy the night and get involved in other things and just see how the night goes. So just some thoughts there.
Those always help for sure. And, my thinking here is like, if someone is, for several months now has had marital problems, you're fighting probably on a daily basis. Even if you're not fighting, there's this kind of tension there, like simmering in the background, etc. But then we have a fight, you really don't sleep much at all. My thinking here is that it's completely expected that you have trouble sleeping. Nobody would expect that I had a terrible fight with my husband and I slept great. Mm-hmm. That would be odd. And why is this? And when I say this, it can come across as kind of like, okay, you're not helping now. How can I sleep better? But I think it is very important, because when you attribute good sleep to not trying, I slept good because I wasn't putting any effort, perfect. And when you don't sleep much at all, you also attribute that to something obvious. I didn't sleep much at all because I had a fight with my husband, or I'm generally not sleeping so well now because I have marital problems. Then that demystifies it. That means you actually just have disrupted sleep because of what's happening in your life right now. There's nothing strange or unexpected about that. And what happens there, the beauty of this is you don't go into like, why can't I sleep? I have to try this. I don't understand it. Sleep is slippery, blah, 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 blah. You stay in that expected state of, I don't sleep so well now because I have so much stress during the day. And you don't go down the rabbit hole. And guess what? Whatever happens, if you go into counseling and you and your husband, things work out really well for you, or you go in another direction, whatever happens, when you no longer are in this state you're in now, and you haven't started thinking that there's something wrong with my sleep system, I have insomnia, then you will sleep well again. then this external trigger will be gone and sleep will happen, which is different from someone who goes into insomnia mode. I can't figure it out. I have to do this. So I would say my kind of overarching thought here is that attribute your little sleep to something obvious. And when that thing that's driving it no longer is a driver, sleep will come your way.
Yeah. And while you're undergoing acute stress or anxiety situations during the day, make sure that you don't turn like your whole bed environment into like your refuge. Don't retreat there for hours during the day because it's just warm and comfortable. I'm not a fan of that. I kind of like the idea of keeping it like your sleep room. It's like, oh, I use it for sleep. You just use it for sleep. It's like you have a living room, got a couch in your living room, but it's not your couch room, it's your living room. So your bedroom is like your sleep room. It's like, you happen to have a bed there, and that's kind of where you go at night when you feel pretty tired. So be careful. Just while you're working on things during the day, don't turn your whole sleeping room into like my, retreat, avoid life problems area. And what Daniel said was exactly right. And it's true. It's like, what's causing your sleep disruption. It's not like a classic insomnia issue. It sounds like a specific type of stress during the day is affecting you like 24 hours a day, which would be like normal with enough stress. It can be normal. If you like bang your knee against the wall, you don't expect to sleep well that night because it really hurts. It's like an obvious cause. And that's actually, I don't want to say it's easier to overcome, but it's like it helps that kind of the source of your anxiety and you have ideas on how to work on it. And I think that's the main thing there.
Totally agree. Let's see here. Jan says, a little off topic, but did you ever confirm when you will be doing the podcast with Sasha Stevens? You know what? I think she's probably very, very busy. So, people have different patterns when they reply to emails. Some people always respond really right away. Some people take a while. I've seen with her, it takes a while. But the good news is she got back to me after I thought maybe she is not interested. She wrote back to me last week or maybe early this week. And she said that probably next Friday in a week, she'll be available to do a podcast. So I'm super
Awesome.
excited about that. So yeah, stay tuned for that one for sure.
That's awesome.
Actually says, am I late? We're still in time. We're here. But that's it. I think we have do we have one or two more questions? I think this is the last question actually here from Nika. I've just discovered your channel about insomnia. I always struggled with light sleep, but still managed to get to sleep. And even if I woke up, I could go back to sleep. Now I'm experiencing a whole different problem. It's hard for me to drift off to deep sleep. So tired all days, can't even take a nap anymore. When I go to sleep, I would sleep for 2 hours and then wake up at the same time every hour, every night. I couldn't go back to sleep. Also, when I try to sleep, my heart is racing like it's going to explode. I'm always experiencing hypnic jerks, which always wakes me up. Also, I'm afraid that I will never sleep again. I'm so scared. I saw that fatal insomnia is actually real. I also saw a video about Casper's mom. I wonder if signs of fatal insomnia like she had would be the same for all people. I'm so afraid that I might have that. It drives me crazy. If I don't sleep well, if I feel numb all day, can't study anymore, there's a weird feeling in my head. It's not dizziness, but it's more like a heavy head, but still feeling like my balance is disappearing. I also have panic attacks because of bad thoughts. Do you think it might be fatal insomnia? What should I do? Best regards, Nika. What do you think, Michael?
Well, I'll start with the last question first, and we don't offer medical advice here, but the question was, do I think it's fatal insomnia? My answer is no, I don't think it's fatal insomnia. That's just my opinion. What you're describing is a lot of stress, reactions to stress and anxiety, and it can manifest in just literally an infinite number of ways. Think about it. If you're stressed about something, you could be anything. You could be kind of short-tempered. You could have a headache. You grind your teeth. You're not eating enough, or you're eating too much. Everyone's kind of different how stress affects them, and I think you have to recognize that. I saw a lot of effort. When I try to take a nap, I can't. When I try to go to sleep, I can't. I think there's some time checking going on there too. I'm kind of a proponent, if you're first kind of starting off, with insomnia and you're grasping for straws and stuff, I think that's a good thing to kind of take out of the equation. And developing the different attitude about sleep, it takes a little time. So education, I think that's really, what you should be doing. Like, learn about normal sleep, learn how sleep happens, learn a gas break model, all these kinds of core elements for sleeping better, I think, is what I would suggest. But all these symptoms you're describing, they're all kind of, just anxiety and stress related, and just recognizing that, I think, is the first place to start. And then understanding that you describe a lot of common insomnia types of experiences. And so understanding that you are a unique person, but your insomnia isn't terribly unique, I think is very helpful for people to hear. And so start with education and go from there. And I think you'll be fine. It might take a little while, but you'll get there.
100%. Everybody is willing to learn a little bit, open mind, we'll get there 100%. And, starting with actually just kind of echoing what Michael said here, but in a different way. I just want to say it this way, that everything you describe in this email is very, very, very common. If you go through open classes and listen to things on this channel, you will find exactly the things you described many, 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 many times over. And that's a good thing. That means that, it's kind of evidence that it is thoughts, anxiety, fear that's driving all these experiences, no matter how bizarre they seem. But I think one thing I wanted to stay on for a little bit here was, and we see this all the time, such a common and important one in the beginning of the email. I've always been sort of a light sleeper, always struggled a little bit, but I was able to fall asleep. I always managed to get some sleep. And that here's the confusion. When you have trouble sleeping and you look back upon past times, you think, it seems like, whoa, I at least had some control back then, but now I lost it completely. But in reality, it's the complete opposite. Mm-hmm. You're now trying to get control. Back then, you weren't trying as much. And if I use this new analogy that I like with the personal assistant, like we all have like a personal sleep assistant in our brains that is there to make us sleep when it thinks the conditions are right. You had a little bit of probably mistrust. You didn't fully trust your personal sleep assistant in the past. That's why you had a little bit of trouble sleeping here and there. But now you completely lost confidence in your personal sleep assistant, and your personal sleep assistant is like scared and confused and doesn't know what's going on. And then it's like just not letting sleep happen. So, you just have to go back to that place where you had more faith in your personal sleep assistant. You weren't trying to tell him or her what to do, and they could like make sleep happen for you, delegate sleep to that personal assistant.
Yeah, it's like you got a little, like you peeked over the shoulder of your personal assistant and looked at their notepad.
Yeah,
just for a second, you're like, what do you mean that, how can that happen? I need to control this. And then that just spirals.
All right, so hang in there. And we have some comments here. Awesome and cool. And that's not you, Michael. That's Sasha Steele.
I understand.
That's not us. That's for Sasha Steele. But I think she's great. I look forward to talking to her if she comes on. So yeah. Well, that said, I want to say thanks everyone for comments, for support, for everything. And we will be back for more open classes next week, and I'm heading over to our dropping class in about 40 minutes, where we will be talking about, what are we going to talk about today? I think we're really going to, we can talk a lot about self-kindness and self-compassion, and how, it's so common when you have trouble sleeping to hear these thoughts like, why can't I get it right? Why am I always so tired? Why am I not doing it right? I must be, it's something. And that is self-judgment. That is like you're hard on yourself. You're putting too much pressure on yourself. So important to go into the self-kindness direction,
Yeah.
So, yeah. Any last comments, Michael?
No, just really, really great to be here, and just having so much fun just watching the comments of our members, on the Slack communication platform, and it really is, really great insights. And I check in. I mean, I know you were kind of covering this week, but I'm like following along because I want to know what's going on. And it's really, that I made a comment like it's a little bit blurry sometimes between the student and the teacher. And that's where it gets super interesting. Like, oh, I never thought about it that way, and so we're kind of like sharing some learning, and that's really where growth happens. And so really, really enjoying that.
100%. Perfect. Well, have a great weekend, everyone. And
thanks, everybody.